Hi, my name is Dalen Borders, and I'm a project engineer for BatRF by Stemco. And today we're going to very quickly show you the simple steps to install an AirBAT tire pressure sensor on a typical trailer wheel end. To perform an AirBAT installation on a typical trailer wheel end, you're going to need the following tools: a small pin light or flashlight, a wire brush, possibly a 4-way valve stem tool, a 3/4 inch closed-in boxed-in wrench, a 1/2 inch wrench and a 1/2 inch socket with an extension, a pair of long reach 90-degree needle nose pliers, and a spray bottle with soapy water. Before we begin the installation of the tire pressure sensor, there's a couple of things that we want to do. We want to do a general walk around of the vehicle and verify the condition of all the tires in the wheel ends. Especially we want to pay attention to the valve stems on each tire. We want to look for valve stems that have been damaged, threads that may need to be cleaned, and if there are valve caps present, this is a good time to go ahead and remove those, even if they're flow-through valve caps. We also want to look at the position of the valve stems on the dual sets to make sure that, first of all, that the inside valve stem is available through the handhole and that they are positioned 180 degrees apart so that we can simplify the installation of the AirBAT. The first step in installing the AirBAT is to assemble the bracket to the back of the AirBAT mounting stud and anti-rotation pin. To do so, simply place the AirBAT bracket over the stud, aligning the pin with the hole. Place the galvanized flat washer supplied with the AirBAT as well as the lock nut. Hand thread the lock nut and then use the 3/4 inch wrench to tighten to the recommended torque specs in the instructions that come with the unit. It's important not to use an impact gun for this purpose, because personal injury can result or potentially worse damage to the AirBAT. Once the bracket is assembled to the AirBAT, you're now ready to plan the installation placement of the AirBAT on the wheel end itself. A few things that are important to note: when selecting the studs or the mounting bolts on the wheel end, you want to be sure to place the AirBAT with the hoses oriented properly to their respective valve stems. For the 180 fitting, it goes to the outside valve stem, and for the straight fitting to the inside valve stem. It's also important to select mounting bolt locations that will not cause the hoses to be stretched or kinked in some way that would potentially cause them to be damaged over time. We also need to look at the hubcap itself and pay attention to any special features it may have. If it has a side fill plug, we'll obviously have to mount in such a way as to avoid those features. As a precaution before installing the hoses, it's a good idea to take a wire brush and potentially a 4-way valve stem tool to chase the threads on each valve stem to be sure that they're clean and free of any paint or residue. You're now ready to begin installing the AirBAT by first assembling the inside valve stem hose connection. Place the swivel nut of the hose against the tip of the valve stem and very carefully thread the hose onto the valve stem. Once you have the unit threaded on, you can continue the installation by rotating the entire unit. You should begin to hear air hiss out of the valve stem, verifying that you're making a good connection. Once you have the swivel nut hand tight, then you can take the 90-degree needle nose pliers and reach in and give the swivel nut a final 1/4 turn to a 1/2 turn to complete the tightening sequence. It's important to check that the hose is adequately tightened by grabbing a hold of it and attempting to turn it. If there's resistance felt in turning the hose, then the connection is snug and secure. Now that the hose is installed on the inside valve stem, we're ready to take out the previously determined hubcap screws that we'll be mounting to. Use your 1/2 inch socket wrench, loosen the screws. Now place the AirBAT over the holes and insert one of the screws and then the other. Complete the installation by installing the hose to the outer valve stem. Again, as in before, on the inside valve stem, place the tip of the swivel nut against the tip of the valve stem. Do this 2 or 3 times until the swivel nut and hose are snug and will resist rotation. Now that the AirBAT is installed, it's important to do a final check to verify that everything is proper. First of all, using your small 4-way valve stem tool, simply depress the little flow-through caps on each side of the filler nipples of the AirBAT. We're looking for a good steady flow of air there to indicate that we've made a good connection. Finally, take the spray bottle with the soapy water and spray each fitting and valve stem end. Wait a second, and then use your pen light or flashlight to inspect and look for any signs of bubbles that may indicate a leak. If bubbles are present, then either tighten the fitting an additional quarter turn and recheck, or remove the fitting and determine the cause of the leak. Finally, record the serial number of the AirBAT for this tire position and this unit number on the tag assignment worksheet for use later on. If you'd like more information on BatRF products, please visit our website at www.batrf.com.